So we're back. My name is Andrew Georgitsis, and with this is the next chapter in UTD Under the Hood. And in the next chapter, as you can see, so far we've sort of covered, a little bit about myself, Jeff. We've met Jeff. We've gone through some background. We've gone through some mission and the purpose. Of course, we've gone through the ethos, the 10 covenants. But today, what I want to do is I want to talk about our teaching philosophy. And you can always go to our website, as you may or may not know, unifiedteamdiving.com, and you can, in our website, under the About Us, you can actually read about our little teaching philosophy right there. Here's our training philosophy right there. And you can read whatever it's about. But really, I don't want to discuss what's in the website today. Today, I want to have a little one-on-one with you so you get to know a little bit more about us. Now, I'm going to talk in very general terms because I hope you've gone back and you've met Jeff, the About Jeff section, and then you've met myself. Well, you then should know that both of us are in the core, in the heart, we're educators. So when we developed UTD and our training philosophy, our teaching philosophy, one of the things we really had this overlying idea of, you are a coach and you're going to invest in this team, in the student. Not a factory. This is not about money. Boom, boom, boom. If I wanted to make money, I would never have got into diving. Okay? I would have gone to something that is $1 billion industry, right? The point is that, this for us is a passion. It's about teaching people doing it right, I know, from the start, in a consistent manner, in a building block fashion. You've already met me, I don't teach anything that I don't do. I don't get on my knees. I don't blow bubbles out of my mask. I don't, all kinds of stuff that you see people just being taught the complete wrong way. And then later, they have to fix those bad habits. So the important part is yes, I can't teach you everything I know at the very end. I have to do it in a building block fashion. One small block at a time. Right? I have to do it in a manner that says, let's start out with what we call the essential skills. The personal basic skills. Trim, buoyancy, positioning. Right? We don't call them propulsion. We don't, I love these ads where you see the fins where people are racing each other up and down the pool, which got the most power. Who cares? Fins are about positioning. They're not about swimming as fast as you can. If I want to swim as fast as I can, I wouldn't swim. I'd get a scooter and pull me along. It's about positioning. Those are skills that are the core, the foundation. Well, that's a building block. We start with that course we call the Extreme Scuba Makeover. Later, we're going to introduce all the different classes in UTD. But to give you an idea, we start you out with this building block. The core skills, trim, buoyancy, when I say positioning, propulsion, those are core. Then we build on top of those personal skills, retrieving regulators and blah, blah, blah. So we build these personal skills that you need. We build these emergency skills, such as air sharing, deploying an SMB, blah, blah, blah. And then we continue on these building blocks all the way up. And we constantly use the 6 principles of learning. And one of the very first and most effective, powerful learning rule, if you want to call it that, is called the law of primacy. And that means the first thing you learn is going to have such an impact on you. It's going to stick with you. It's going to be so powerful. You're going to remember it. So if the first thing you learned was on your knees in the pool, that is going to be something really hard for us to break. If the first thing you learned when scuba diving is to be on your knees, be negatively buoyant, and be on the bottom of the pool, I've set you up for the rest of your entire scuba life to be pretty miserable. Because you have to break that. And people spend years breaking that habit of finding gravity because they learned that in their very first experience underwater of scuba. The first breath they took was on their knees. So we in UTD use that. Our open water students never, not even from minute 1, are there on their knees. We don't even allow them, not from second one, are they on their knees. They're not allowed to touch the bottom. We teach them neutral buoyancy prior to teaching them any underwater skills. First you build your platform, right? We don't have it as a specialty after you've taken open water class where we say, look, we really didn't teach you neutral buoyancy. You have no buoyancy skill, so take it as a specialty. Buoyancy expert, or whatever name you come up with. We teach it first and foremost, right out the gate. Because of the law of primacy. Right, that's very, very important. Of course, we use the other laws of learning as well. There's other 6 laws, of course. Repetition, doing the skills over and over and over and over, of course. Because we do believe that route learning is an important part of the message. But we don't just teach route or route learning. Route learning is where you just do the same thing for muscle memory over and over and over and over. Because again, route learning, you know, is like checkbox learning. You're like a little mouse at the thing. You come up and you get your piece of cheese, but you don't really know why. So you have to do understanding. So you'll notice that in our teaching philosophy, we always tell you why. We always have 13 reasons why we do something. This is so core to our teaching philosophy. You know, you must, as a student, be what we call the law of readiness. It's the third law I'm talking about, where you are ready to learn because you will know why. You're ready, you can apply this to your own self because you understand, why am I learning this? Of course, it is important, just like in repetition, you know, the law of repetition, that you know how the application. So we do use application. We do show you how to apply this. You know, so you apply it. But later we use 2 other rules or laws of learning, all right, in our teaching, right? And they essentially like the law of consequence, if you want to call it that, right? And it's not really called the law of consequence, okay? But I think of it as like the law of consequence. But it's really learning laws that are centered around how what's happening impacts you or impacts another person. Okay? And those laws that we're talking about, or we in our teaching philosophy, we teach what we call the correlation. We change the behavior so that you can correlate. That's the ultimate level, what we call learning level. The ultimate level of learning is not only can you route do something, not only do you understand why you're doing it, not only can you apply it, but you can correlate it. And that becomes the ultimate level that we are looking for. That change of behavior. And so we do that, as I've said already, in a building block fashion. So each level has got a certain amount that you then put the next block on top, and the next block on top, and the next block on top, and the next block on top. And where that becomes important for you as a student to understand is that we also keep it consistent throughout all those learning blocks. So anything and everything you learn is relevant and consistent to the highest level. It's not that you get all the information in one of our classes. Yeah, you're going to get more pieces of that information as you go up the level. But the piece you learned in open water is not wrong or different from the piece you've learned in your rebreather class. It's one consistent message, but done in such a fashion that it's building using the 6 laws of learning that are centered around the idea of that you go through all the levels of learning to the point where you can correlate that skill, that philosophy, that protocol, whatever it is we're learning. So that gives you a little bit of background into our teaching philosophy, and it's very, very unique in the industry because we're not a factory. We don't pump out the students. We're not doing this to get as many as we can. You know, what are your ratios? What are your ratios? I mean, I get that from a lot of instructors who say, I want to become a UTD instructor, but what are your ratios? Because I can only make money teaching 10 people in the class. I'm like, then we are not your agency. We do not check boxes. there's no, you know, we are furthest thing from that. And if you do that, that's okay. That's up to you. But we don't. We coach each and every single person through all of their levels of learning, using all the laws of learning, through all their building blocks, and a consistent message to arrive where they want to arrive. Later we'll talk about the diver and the end goal in mind, but you guys have to look forward to that. Anyways, if you've got any questions about our teaching philosophy or becoming a UTD instructor or anything like that, or what's the path, email us at info@unifiedteamdiving.com. And as always, safe diving.